Hello everyone, this is Daniel with Indie Game Cove. In our previous tutorial I showed you how to create a follower sprite which would follow your player around your platform in your Construct 2 game. In this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to switch the movement character from your player to that follower sprite and then switch it back. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first step will be to select your follower sprite. We're going to add two new behaviors to this sprite. The first behavior we're going to add will be your 8 direction behavior, and then we're going to add a scroll to behavior. And you can find the behaviors on the left side of your Construct 2 menu. Then you're going to go ahead and disable both of these behaviors so that by default when the layout first loads they're not going to be active. After you've done that, go into your event sheet and you're going to add a global variable. You can add a global variable by right-clicking and then just click the Add Global Variable selection. Then we're going to add an event. We're going to add onKeyPressed and we're going to select the spacebar. And when that key is pressed, we want it to check whether the global variable is a 1 or a 0. So we're going to add a sub-event, and we're going to go into System, Compare Variable, is it equal to 0? And then if it's not equal to 0, we want it to do an action. So we want to add an else statement to achieve that. So in other words, when we press the keyboard spacebar, it's going to check if the variable is 0. If it is, it's going to do a particular action. Otherwise, it's going to do another set of actions. So we're going to go ahead and add these actions. We're going to select our sprite, and we're going to set enable the 8 direction behavior, and we're also going to set enable the scroll to behavior, and we're also going to disable our custom movement behavior. Now remember from our previous tutorial, our custom movement behavior was what we were using to bring the sprite to use the following feature that we had set up previously. So we're going to actually disable that, and then we're going to go ahead and select player, and we're going to disable our scroll to behavior for our player, and we're also going to disable the platform behavior for our player. And then after all of those behaviors have been switched, we're going to have the system set the value of our variable to 1. Then in our else statement, we're basically going to do the complete opposite of what we just did. So we can go ahead and copy and paste all of those. You can copy and paste multiple items by holding the shift key. Then you're just going to go ahead and paste those into your else statement. Since the else statement was empty, you have to paste it into something that already has a few actions in it, and then just kind of drag it down into your else statement. And then we're going to go line by line and just do the reverse of whatever's in the box. So we're disabling 8 direction, disabling scroll to, disabling custom movement, or enabling custom movement, and then going into the player, enabling the player's platform and scroll to behaviors. And then instead of setting the variable to 1, we're going to set the variable to 0. And let's go ahead and run that and see what we have. As we can see, we still have all of the same controls we had previously, but when I press the spacebar, that allows the follower to sprite to go ahead and start moving about the screen on its own. And when I select the spacebar again, the player resumes control, and the sprite goes ahead and starts following. So as it stands right now, if we're moving the sprite around, you can see how it kind of adjusts the angle of the sprite. I want to go ahead and stop it from rolling around like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my sprite, and I'm going to go to the 8 direction behavior, and I'm going to turn the set angle. I'm going to take it from the default setting of 360 degrees smooth, and I'm going to set it to no. Now if I run that again, and I go ahead and switch it, it'll stay nice and at the set angle that we want it at. So one thing that you'll notice, if I jump and then switch controls over to the sprite, over to the follower sprite, it will stop the player in midair. And also you can see how the sprite is turning, the player sprite is turning in the direction that I'm pressing the keyboard. So the first error we're going correct will be the floating player error. So to do this, we're going to add a family by right-clicking on our families folder here. And we're going to add all of our different ground types. So this would be our solid tile, our jump through tile, as well as our moving solid tile. Once we've added all of those, we're going to add a condition to our keyboard pressed event. And what we're going to do is we're going to select our player, and we're going to check if our ground is just below our player by going into our family object and setting the offset to 2, and this would be just below the player. After you've added that event and we run the layout, we can see that if we hit the spacebar while the player is in the air, it's actually not going to do anything, but if the player is on the ground, then it'll go ahead and switch to our follower sprite. So now that that error is corrected, we're going to go back into our event sheet and we're going to correct the mirroring error. So to do that, we're going to add a new event above the mirroring events. We're going to compare variable, seeing if we're going to check if the variable that we created is equal to 0. If it is, we want these keyboard events to trigger. So if the variable is 1, meaning that the follower sprite is currently being used, then it's not going to trigger the mirroring events. So let's go ahead and run that and see how it looks. And as we can see, if I hit spacebar while it's jumping, it's not going to do anything. And as I move the sprite from left to right, the player sprite isn't going to mirror at all. If you've yet to purchase either the personal or business license, then you wouldn't have been able to add families to your event sheet. So to get around that, all you would have to do is add each of your ground types separately as a sub-event underneath your spacebar pressed event, and that will allow you to achieve the same result. So I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you liked it, hit the like button, that'll help me out, and if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. Have a great day.